Acting is a wonderful craft, and there are some wonderfully gifted actors out there who make us really believe the characters and moments they are living. But as we know, there are some moments that are genuinely happening, and some of those great reactions you see on screen are actually real. Get ready, fan, because today we're back with more movie moments where actors weren't really acting. Before we dive in, be sure to cruise on over to the subscribe button to keep up to date with all of our latest videos. But first, can you guess what feature film these emojis are showing? Find out at the end of the video.
Attention, emergency. All personnel must evacuate immediately.
Alien. The chestburster scene is one of the most iconic moments in movie history. After one of the characters, played by legendary John Hurt, gets a pretty intense face hug, we think he's out of the clear, until he starts convulsing. But just when the team is about to give him CPR, an alien punches through his chest, splattering everybody with blood and guts. What really sells it, though, isn't the effects of the creepy creature itself. What sells this scene is the absolutely crazy reaction of the rest of the cast when the tiny little alien rips through his chest. If the horrified reactions are a bit too convincing, it's because they had no clue what was about to happen. Prior to shooting, the actors were all removed except for Hurt, who was hooked up to a device that involved a fake chest cavity spring-loaded with pig organs and hoses full of stage blood, and of course the puppet. Hurt was underneath to give the illusion that the chest was real. When the rest of the cast showed up, all their script said was, "The thing emerges." They were only told that its head will move and it would have teeth. Their horrified reactions when they were hit with blood and chunks was totally real.
This is Burkittsville, formerly Blair. It is a small, quiet Maryland town. Much like a small, quiet town anywhere.
The Blair Witch Project. The cult classic broke ground with its realistic feel. When the film was being released, many audience members thought it was real found footage. The entire viral ad campaign was based around people really believing this was authentic found footage. The story is about 3 college students who head out into the woods to make a documentary about witches but end up perishing. Some major film company finds this footage and voila, audiences everywhere get to see the story. They made it look real by actually giving some amateur actors a camcorder and leaving them in the woods for a week. It was innovative for the time, but the concept has been done to death nowadays. The actors were instructed to do interviews. The only written lines were given to the townspeople in the beginning. The filmmakers met with the trio, gave them supplies, an outline of the shooting, and left them to improvise. As time went on, the cast grew more exhausted, especially since they got less food every day. Sometimes the filmmakers would stay back and break sticks, throw rocks just out of sight, sneak into their campsite in the middle of the night to play clips of children's laughter and violently shake the tents. The witches weren't real, but their aggravation and fear was.
And our battle plan will be that of an Apache resistance. We will be cruel to the Germans.
Inglourious Basterds. Quentin Tarantino, renowned rebel and unique filmmaker. Even if you aren't a film buff, it's safe to say that you've seen at least one of his movies, or at least know his name. Tarantino is not just a filmmaker, but a film buff himself and has seen tons of movies. And so, he has very specific visions for his films. He's a bit of a perfectionist. This trait came in handy in Inglourious Basterds. It was a great film, no question, but we think Diane Kruger might have a different opinion. Kruger, who played the role of German movie star Bridget van Hammersmark, had to go through a pretty intense strangling scene. Von Hammersmark turns out to be a spy for the good guys, which doesn't end up sitting well with Colonel Hans Landa, played by Christoph Waltz. When he finds out, he lunges at Bridget and chokes the life out of her. If Diane Kruger looks like she's giving a very convincing performance, it's because she's not really acting. Tarantino was unimpressed at how unrealistic the choking scene looked, so he took matters into his own hands. He convinced Kruger to let him strangle her for real. She reluctantly agreed to be choked almost to unconsciousness. The final result is too real and super cringy.
You know what the best part of my day is? It's for about 10 seconds from when I pull up to the curb when I get to your door. Because I think maybe I'll get up there and I'll knock on the door and you won't be there.
Good Will Hunting. There's no way that anyone can watch the late, great, and legendary Robin Williams and not smile. Williams was completely out of this world. He was known for his comedic roles, but even in his dramatic ones, he couldn't help but make us smile. In Good Will Hunting, there's one improvised scene that is both beautiful and hysterical in a way that only Williams could pull off. Robin Williams plays a therapist to Matt Damon's stubborn character, Will. Damon is caught off guard by an improvised story that Williams tells about his character's wife's flatulence problem and true romance. He says she used to fart in her sleep, And one night it was so loud it woke the dog up, all while laughing and causing Damon to laugh hysterically. He goes on to say that his wife woke up and asked if it had been him. He says he didn't have the heart to tell her and took the fart blame. Both actors organically laugh, and can you blame them? Williams brought so much joy to this world, especially through Matt Damon's high-pitched squeal that comes out while he laughs.
Hello, my name is Diego Unchained. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
The Princess Bride. Before her many amazing roles and most recent role in House of Cards, Robin Wright was in a little movie called The Princess Bride. This cult classic was released in 1987 and has since remained in the spotlight. And how could it not? It's a fairy tale full of fantasy, giants, swashbuckling pirates, six-fingered men, adventure, poison, romance, and a beautiful princess named Buttercup. During a point in the film, Princess Buttercup and her one true love, Wesley, are confronted by Prince Humperdinck and Count Tyrone Rugen, aka the Six-Fingered Man. They capture Wesley, but naturally he won't go down without a fight. So in order to ensure he will fully cooperate, the Six-Fingered Man, played by Christopher Guest, hits Wesley in the head with the butt of a sword and knocks him out. We usually assume that movie magic is involved and actors don't really ever get hurt. But in this case, Cary Elwes tells a different story. According to him, there were no rubber cushiony swords and faking the knockout just wasn't working for them. So naturally, Guest ended up hitting him and knocking him out, and what we see on film is Elwes getting knocked out in real life.
I want you to go as quietly as possible. Do not make a sound until I tell you to run. Then run as quickly as you can. Now, does everybody understand?
The Birds. If you're familiar with the master of suspense, then chances are you've seen The Birds, or at the very least, Psycho. And if you haven't, you most definitely should watch them both. The Birds is, in a nutshell, a movie about when birds attack. The concept is still pretty terrifying to this day. By today's standards, the effects are a bit laughable by comparison, but keep in mind that this film was made in 1963, and the effects were much more practical. That being said, one of the scenes was a bit too real for star Tippi Hedren. The film was building to the famous bedroom scene in which Tippi's character Melanie is viciously attacked by birds on camera. What's the big deal? There's no way they would risk her getting actually hurt, right? Well, it turns out that up until the day of filming, Hitchcock promised her that they would use mechanical birds. But on the day of the shoot, the assistant director told her that the birds were malfunctioning, so they had to use real ones. The handlers threw ravens, doves, and pigeons right at her face. And on the final day of shooting the scene, they loosely tied live birds to her costume. The birds pecked at her while she had more live birds hurled at her. Her terror during this scene is completely real.
Jesus Christ, who lives and reigns with the Father and the Holy Spirit. Damien!
Amen.
The Exorcist. One of the most iconic and groundbreaking films in the horror genre was The Exorcist. The heroes of the film were some middle-aged men, and the monster was just a bedridden young girl. Doesn't sound scary at all, does it? Well, in 1973, it made audiences everywhere soil themselves in fear. Making a movie this terrifying had to be scary in and of itself, right? The director kept the set at very low temperatures, so the scene where you can see the actor's breath is actually real. He also kept everyone on edge by keeping loaded guns on set and firing them. Oh, no thanks, that's too much stress for us, and not to mention, totally unsafe. There's one scene in particular that is truly gross. Father Karras talks to young Reagan to see if her possession is demonic or psychological. She brings up his dead wife, and when he tries to stump her, she projectile vomits all over him. Ugh. Disgusting. In order to get a genuine reaction from actor Jason Miller, director William Friedkin told Miller that the vomit was supposed to spray him in the chest. At the last moment, the pump was recalibrated so that the puke hit him right in the face. Poor guy finished the take and spent the rest of the day really pissed off. You know, we really don't blame him.
Lay your palms flat on that tabletop. If you lift those palms off that turtle shell tabletop, Mr. Pooch is gonna let loose with both barrels that sawed off.
Django Unchained. There's a certain look, feel, and style that comes with a Tarantino film, and if you've seen any of his movies, you know what we mean. Quentin Tarantino is known for his bloody and violent rule-breaking films, and Django Unchained was one of them. The film was full of real-life struggles on set that made the emotions even more real on the big screen. For starters, the film shot from November 2011 to July 2012. Kerry Washington's panic and fear are genuine as she actually spent time in a hot box, which was a coffin-sized metal box built into the ground, full of worms and centipedes. We would be permanently scarred after that. Small spaces and creepy bugs. No thanks. There was also a shocking scene in which Leo's Calvin Candy, the psychotic slave owner, is hosting a dinner for Django and Dr. Schultz. Candy reveals his knowledge of Django's plan, which of course pisses him right off. He slams his hand on a table and hits a glass. His hand bleeds profusely as he continues, totally unfazed. The gory take was kept in the film, and we got a truly powerful performance. What did you think of this scene?
Where you going, Ed? If you lived here, you'd be home by now.
It. The most terrifying reboot to date has to be Stephen King's It. The original miniseries was pretty traumatic, but this reboot is giving the original a run for its money. From start to finish, we were cringing in horror at the edge of our seat. When the studio released stills of Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise, we were so hyped we could barely contain ourselves. So how did the actors feel about seeing Bill for the first time? Well, it was actually caught on film. Director Andy Muschietti and producer Barbara Muschietti revealed that they kept Pennywise away from the kids as long as they could so that their reactions could be authentic. That's definitely one brilliant way to do it. To make the moment even more memorable, the first time the kids saw Bill dressed in full clown getup was when they were filming the projector scene. You remember that one, right? Where the projector flickers on its own and Pennywise pops out in the pictures and out at them? They were all completely and genuinely freaked out, and because of that, so were we. To be honest, we still kind of are. What did you think of that scene? Fast and Furious. If you like action, fast cars, and impossible stunts, oh, who are we kidding? Everyone and their moms have seen at least one of the movies in this franchise, and we are willing to bet most of you are fans of the series. It's hard not to like this franchise. It's been around since 2001 and is nothing but exciting thrills, awesome race scenes, and laughs. Oh yeah, and let's not forget the amazing and sometimes impossibly ridiculous stunts. This high-octane franchise also emphasizes the concept of family. Both on screen and off, the cast has been together for over a decade, and they have grown into a family. And much like when families get together, the jokes start flying. One of the best moments comes at the end of the 6th movie. Tyrese Gibson's character, Roman, tells Mia to hide the baby oil. This is in regards Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's character, Hobbs, who is walking in. The Rock instantly claps back with the improvised line, "Better hide that big forehead," which causes Ludacris to spit out his drink in laughter. The Rock was not supposed to respond to that comment, but thank goodness he did. Spit takes are the best.
So maybe you did what you gotta do to get out. You know, maybe you became a psychologist. Bingo. That's it. Let me do my job now. You start with me. Come on.
Well, there you have it, friends. Those were some more movie moments where actors weren't acting. Are there any that we missed this time around? Which were your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check some more out in our playlist. But before you go, here's the answer to the emoji quiz. Did you get it? Let us know. As always, thanks for tuning in.